Broken promises are often described as wake-up calls that often reminds us not to give away our trust so easily in life. But somehow you can't do without making promises and also trusting people. Because if you can't trust people, it means you can't trust yourself. Those are basically the way this life goes. For some people, it is different tales for different folks in the Premier League. Talking about Alexander Isak, Alejandro Garnacho, talking about Lisa, talking about Victor Gyökeres, talking about players that really have given their best for their club side and somehow they feel it is high time we left and look for greener pastures. Welcome, it is another edition of Offside brought to you by Arsenal Fans Beat. Today I'm going to be looking at a couple of things that is happening in the Premier League and across the football world. How do you describe a situation where you feel you have given so much to your club side? You have given your blood, sweat, and energy. And the time you feel it's about high time that I left to look for greener pasture, new environment, new pay packet. Because as is often believed, the reason we play football is because we need to make a marquee signing in order to really take care of our future, for our children, our unborn children, our family members, and dependents. But somehow that is not the case for some footballers. Victor Gyökeres started the season hoping that he was going to nick that movement from Portugal to England so easily. But somehow it was quite unfortunate for him because his coach, his sporting director then in Sporting, had to leave and decided to join Man City. And the chairman took advantage of that situation and said, look, that trust or contract or agreement that you had before now does not augur well with me. This is the way it's going to be. I'm going to be deciding how much they're going to be nicking you away from us because you have been arguably the best striker in Europe. And so as a result of that, the club sides that want you need to make a marquee P. And so Victor Gyökeres took it upon himself. He did not make a mincemeat of the situation, but he stood his ground and said, I'm turning up for preseason. I'm coming again. He even allowed his girlfriend to say, look, I don't want you again. Let's end this relationship because you are the only one that's going to bring me back to Portugal. But somehow, he didn't say a word. He kept his cool. That's the difference between Alexander Isak and Victor Gyökeres. For Alexander Isak, the season began and he said he's nursing an injury and decided to go back to Reese Sociedad, use the training ground, use the facility to train and keep himself in shape, hoping that Liverpool were going to make that marquee pay for the Magpies to allow him to go. And the Magpies too, we are on the hunt for a player to replace Isak. Then they were hell-bent in getting their £150 million asking price. But in a situation like this, who is willing to actually pay £150 million for the Swedish international? But somehow, Liverpool believed they were going to make it. And they bidded for £110 million. And the Magpies said, no, we're not going to allow our key player, our star striker, to go for £110 million. While they were still hoping they were going to nick a striker. They went for Ugo Ekitike, and Liverpool nicked him away from them. Oh, bad news. They went for Benjamin Sesko, hoping they were going to get him. They would increase their bidding power beyond what United even paid for Benjamin Sesko. And somehow Sesko, looking at that big picture of, oh, you're playing for the Reds, for United, a club with history and magnificent history when it comes to club football and European competitions. And somehow he decided to go for United, leaving the Magpies barehanded. You could see that Hall was really, really not happy with the situation of things, and he believed that, look, Isak hadn't done well by deciding to say he wanted to go on a hold until his contract situation was settled. And that was how it is. And somehow they went for the preseason. Isak wasn't there. Now things are beginning to turn out well. Also, for Alejandro Garnacho, Ruben Amorim warned him, look, just play unique a club side before the season begins. And somehow it's been dilly-dallying between leaving England and going to Europe. And when Bayern Munich came calling, Alejandro Garnacho said, no, I've got unfinished business in the English Premier League. He refused to go, hoping that Chelsea, the Blues, will come for him. But somehow the Blues are trying to offload some players within their schedule, and they want to reduce their costs. And once they're able to offload those players, then Alejandro Garnacho's dream to play for the Blues will become a reality. But that is still hanging on a balance. Now things seem to be going out of way for Alexander Isak between him and the Magpies. Who would have advised him to go out there and make such comments? But somehow the young man believes that things are actually going out of hand. And as a result, that he needs to say something. This did not go down well with the Magpie when at the PFA Award that Alexander Isak was supposed to be part of those players that were recognized. He did not show up. But somehow, his statement aggravated the heart and the mindset and the thought of the Magpies when he said, I am proud to be recognized by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League team of the season for 2024-2025. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me all the way. Then, lastly, he dropped the bombshell when he said, when promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That is where things are for me right now. And why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself, Alexander Isak. Well, anybody that advised him to do that hasn't done well, because you would have just kept quiet and allowed things to just go, because you never can tell. So you don't throw away the bathwater and the baby, because you never can tell if you're still going to be called back, even though the coach wasn't happy about his actions and said, look, we've grown past Alexander Isak. But somehow, these guys have not been able to nick any other player. So there was still opportunity for you to return to the club. And somehow, when Newcastle read what he said in the social media, or especially on his Instagram handle, they had this to respond to what Isak said. So we are disappointed to have been alerted to a social media post by Alexander Isak this evening. The club went further to say, we are clear in response that Alexander remains under contract, and no commitment has ever been made by a club official that Alexander can leave Newcastle United this summer. And they went further to say, we want to keep our best players, but we also understand players have their own wishes. We listen to their views, as explained to Alex and his representatives. We must always take into consideration the best interests of Newcastle United, the team, and our supporters in all decisions. We have been clear that the condition of sale this summer have not transpired. We do not foresee those conditions being met. This is a proud football club with proud traditions. We strive to retain our family feel. Alex remains part of our family and will be welcome back when he's ready to rejoin his mates. So you see, it's a game of two halves. The Magpies believe that they were going to get a replacement for him, and somehow that replacement hasn't come. We have 2 weeks to end the transfer market, and so they are not too sure they were going to get the kind of striker they need to replace Alexander Isak. And if Liverpool will truly want Alexander Isak, they should be willing to pay the marquee payment of more than £50 million. But I don't see Liverpool coming back to the table to pay. The rest they can pay at least could be like 120, 125, and they have to spread the payment. It depends on the condition. The Newcastle want to give them. They might say, look, we want 70% of the payment paid upfront and the rest spread. So is Liverpool willing to do that? Haven't spent close to £300 million already in the transfer market. So it is their word against that of Alexander Isak, who is still having 3 years contract with the Magpies. So if it is 1 year contract, it's a different ballgame. 3 years contract. So you can't just come and tear the contract and say you're not going to do that. Except The only panacea for Alexander Isak is if he decides to take a pay cut. That pay cut has to be close to 50% pay cut, not 10%, for him to allow this deal to go through. I don't see that happening. Just the way Victor Gyökeres did, he took a pay cut and his agent also took a pay cut on his agency fees. So I don't know how this is going to transpire. If you ask me, he had taken the wrong footing by making that comment. He should have just kept quiet and he would have just reintegrated him back to the team. He would just go back to his teammates and tell them, apologize. Everybody go back to the table and we can have a new agreement. So probably one of the biggest challenges that players are having, because we've spoken about this on this show, that look, one of the biggest challenges they have is that they're not putting this agreement, these promises on paper. They are only believing on gentleman's agreement. That gentleman's agreement appears not to be working for them. It's quite unfortunate that this debacle is happening to a player that has become a Magpie legend. Because if you're walking out from Newcastle, you'll be able to walk out with your head held high. We've seen players leave club side and they return to the club side in a very friendly manner and in a familiar manner that everybody will see them and have that sense of camaraderie. How do you want to explain that? Look at players like Thierry Henry, as good as he was for Arsenal when he left for Barcelona. When Barcelona had their mid-off season, he came back to Arsenal and even played for Arsenal against Sunderland, scoring a fantastic goal that made the fans see him as a cult hero at the Emirates. Talking about Fabregas, he had the opportunity of returning to complete his coaching badge with Arsenal. So many players like that. So Alexander Isak also had a good relationship with Real Sociedad. That's why they gave him the training facility for him to train. So these are the things that we're talking about. If you're going to live on a good footing, because you never can say never. Tomorrow you might have opportunity of needing those people's help. It's something that comes across everywhere you work, whether you work in public sector, you work as a footballer, whatever you do. Whenever you're going to live, you live when the vision is at the highest and live in a cordial way. So that when tomorrow comes, you can always exchange that sense of camaraderie. So we're still talking about Alexander Isak. We spoke about Alejandro Garnacho. Wisa is another player. Who would blame Wisa? Because the only coach that would have made him to remain in Brentford is Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank too is a man, family man. He has dependents. He has seeked his own greener pasture. Has moved to Tottenham. And talking about his good friend and ally on the pitch, Brian Bemo, has moved for greener pasture also to United. And Wisa said, look, I ain't coming for training if you're not going to allow me to move to Newcastle. So it is like facing the blue sea and the devil. So how is he going to face it now? The devil is Brentford. The blue sea is Newcastle. You never can tell. It is either you go back and continue to train and wait for Uhuru to come your way. Uhuru means freedom. So it is his world against that of Brentford. So anyways, this is how it's been on this edition of Offside. Let us hear your comments. See, what do you think about these three players now? Wisa, David Darling with Brentford saying, I'm not coming for preseason. I'm not going to play for you guys again. Allow me to go. Brentford not allowing him to go because they want a marquee pricing for him. If Newcastle want him, bring the money forward and pay. For Alexander Isak, he's also between the blue sea and the devil. So how do you expect Newcastle to allow him go? Because they couldn't nick any player, no striker to replace him. Newcastle can play a hard one because Liverpool nicked the key player they were looking at for in Ugo Ekitike. And now Liverpool has come to their door knocking. We want your star striker. So it is either Liverpool pay the money and take Isak, or they allow Isak to be, because Isak has still got 3 years contract. So complete with the Magpies. For Alejandro Garnacho, he's just been patient because his own is even easier because the coach doesn't even want him. The coach has told him to go and look for a club side. So there's an opportunity for him. The one you'll be praying for is for Chelsea to offload the players they have on their shelf. Once the players goes, then there's an opportunity for him to join the Blues. Because he also had an opportunity of going to Bayern Munich, a marquee club side that is in Europe. He said, no, I want to remain in London. And so this is how it's been on this edition of Offside. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles and keep on supporting us and keep on building this community together. It is because of you that we are where we are today. We want to get to a better place. And together we know we can do it. Don't forget to share, to like, and to subscribe. Until then, it is keeping time!